Hi, today I'm going to show you how you can connect any REST API with Divhunt and show that data without writing a single line of code. So let's see what we are going to create today. So here I have Dragon Ball API, and here we have a simple website with list of characters, and when I click on specific character it will open more informations about this specific character. So we will be creating a similar thing on our website using their REST API. What is important, it doesn't matter what API you are using. All the REST APIs work with the same logic, and learning this example, I'm sure you can apply the same logic on any other REST API. But what is a specific API capable of doing, it doesn't depend on Divhunt, it depends more on the API side. But if you are using something very popular like Firebase, Airtable and Strapi, like I said, I'm sure you can do a lot of things. So I will show you how this API works. So we can open here documentation and let's see what endpoints we have. So here we have an endpoint to get a list of all characters. We will be using this endpoint to show our characters on our homepage. And here we have some arguments such as page and limits for pagination and so on. We will be using a limit argument later to show specific number of characters so we don't show them all. And in some other lessons we'll be showing how to create a pagination and so on. And when we start creating a single page of our characters, we will be using this endpoint, and this endpoint has this dynamic ID here, which we'll be getting from our URL of our page. So I will show you that later. For start, we want to show all characters that we have. So let me first explain you how endpoints work. So if I open this endpoint in my browser, so let's do like that, I will get here 5 items. So I will remove this page item. I will leave only limit, and let's set limit to 30. So now I'm getting 30 characters from this API. So I will copy paste all of this inside of this viewer. Give me a second. It will be easier to read with this tool. So inside of this endpoint, we get this JSON with items, meta, and links. What we care about is these items. Inside of these items, we are getting 30 characters. So if I open one of these characters, we can get fields like ID, name, race, gender, description, image, and so on. And we will be using this data to show it on our website. So what we need to do is basically, let's copy this URL here. Let's go to our website here, open the settings, go browse application and make sure that REST API is installed. After REST API is installed, you can open REST API application in Divhunt here, and let's create a new GET request. So here I will create my GET request called get all characters. And here we have a lot of options that we can use, like headers. We have here properties. Later we'll be using these properties for dynamic pages. We have like body data and so on. If you ever used Postman, it is pretty similar experience. So what we need here is very simple. We need just to paste here endpoint, and let's execute. So when I execute here we get the response saved in our Divhunt backend, and now this response is ready to be used on our website. But there's one edit that we need to do, is that we need only these items. Like I showed you previously, we don't need this meta and links, we want to get only these items. So how can I do that? Simple, here in the key, we want to type get items. And let's execute now, and you will see that now we are getting only our items in response. So now I can show all this list of items on our website. So let's go back to our page. So here I have a blank page. I won't be creating anything from scratch. So let's use some predefined wireframe. So let's find something in a theme section. Maybe something like this. So here we'll be showing our characters. Before I continue to explain all of this, I suggest you to watch a tutorial variables and source that I will leave in description, and it will be much easier for you to understand what I will be doing next. Okay, So here, in order to call our source, so I will select this member, and if I have 30 characters in my REST API, now I need to have these 30 of these divs, and each of these divs will represent one character. So basically, we need to attach our REST API to this member. So how can I do that? I will select this member, go to the advanced here, and inside of the source, we have this REST API get all characters. That's how we called it previously. So let's click on that and let's save. You'll notice that now I have 30 items. Just none of the fields are connected. So I can click here on the title. Let's go to the settings. In the content, let's go set variable. And inside of our value, we will find data of our characters, such as ID, name, race, and so on. So in this case, we need a name. For this paragraph, let's set there maybe like race, and here we need an image. So same principle. Let's click here, value, and let's find an image. So here it is, just we need to change the structure a bit. We don't want to limit it into width. Maybe let's do something like this. Okay, this is pretty good for now. And for this paragraph, let's show here a description. So let's go value and description. Okay, so now we are showing all of our characters here. So next step that we want to create is when I click on this specific character, I want to go to the single page of that character. So how we are going to do that? We need to use another REST API route. So let's go back to our documentation. And as I showed you previously, we have here endpoint for get a single character. So it's this one. So if I open, for example, this, we will get all these informations for Goku. So we have like many more informations than previously. So we want to show all these informations now on the single page of Goku. So, okay, so let's see how we are going to create that. First, we will copy this endpoint and let's go to the REST API. Let's create a new GET request, and here we will call get one character. And in this endpoint, I will just paste here and I will execute. And you will notice that I am getting the Goku here. But this part, this number one, needs to be dynamic. This needs to be coming from our URL. So if I'm on URL, like for example, let me open my live website just to show you an example. So if I am on my URL is, for example, character 5, I want to this URL to execute that REST API and return me data for character number 5. Okay, so how we are going to do that? First thing that we need to do is to create a new single page where we are going to show all this data. So let's go to the pages here, create a page, and let's call it single page of maybe character. And this is going to be our single page. Let's use again some wireframe that will maybe work for our use case. I'm not sure which one, maybe this one. And we need something as well below, maybe some content. I'm not sure what data we have, but let's use this and we will see if it is going to work. We will change some stuff. Okay, so here we'll be showing the informations of our character. So first thing that we need to do is after we created this get one car source, we need to apply that source to our single page. So we'll go here, right click, source, and let's refresh a page for our changes to be applied. Let's go here, source, and let's set get one character. And now this page knows that it is dynamic page of our REST API because we applied this source onto it. So now next step is to apply custom dynamic URL. So here, instead of having this static URL, I want to have dynamic URL. So here I'm going to type two dots ID. Why I'm typing here ID? Because this ID is going to be the dynamic factor in our REST API. If I open this REST API, here we have ID. If I had something more unique like a URL or a slug that I can use, I would use that. But in my case, only unique item is this ID. I can't use this name because some names might contain multiple words and so on. So in this API, most secure ways to use ID. If you are working with maybe Airtable, Strapi or something else, you can use Slug. So it is going to be like, it could be something like this. But in my case, this needs to be ID, and this is not a limiting factor of Divhunt. It is basically what this API is providing to us. Okay, so now when we set here dynamic ID, we need to use this ID inside of REST API. So let's go back to our REST API. Let's go open here, and we need to create here property. So inside of the properties here, let's create a property which we will call, we need property ID that we are getting from the REST API. And here we just enter the default value. This is not for the users, this is just for you to have some information as a default. So we will use default to be 1. Let's update that. And here now in this URL route, we will call that dynamic property. So how you can do that is we will call a dynamic variable from Divhunt. So we will type here properties, we will get the ID. So basically we are calling dynamic variable properties, which is being stored here, and then we are getting the ID. And this is going to be coming from our dynamic route. Okay, so let's execute that. It will tell me internal server error, not sure why. So properties, okay, I'm missing here R. Let's execute now. And now we are sure that this is working. Okay, so let's go back to our builder. And let's call here, let's go to the settings, variables, and then now inside of this page data, because whole this page is dynamic now, and now we have dynamic variables inside of the page data, and now here we have a name and so on. So here I will just connect a name for now, and let's open this character here, and if I type number 2 here, I will get Vegeta. If I type number 12, I will get this guy. If I type 15, I will get something else. So basically now this ID is our dynamic ID. And this ID is basically telling us what to get. Okay, so now we can continue and connect all the fields. Actually, let's remove this section. I will connect a name to this thing. Page. Let's connect a name. So here we can connect an image. Let's put image to be contain. Nice. Here we can connect the description. Let's see what else we have that we can connect. The race, gender, doesn't matter. This is good enough. Everything else is the same. Okay, now what I wanted to show you is how you can show nested objects inside of our JSON. So if I open one of these characters, actually not that one, let me copy this data here to show you what we are getting for the Goku. In the viewer, you will see that inside of the transformations, we have more informations. So how we can show all these transformations? So basically, we need to use iterable in Divhunt. So if we want to show all these items, we'll be using something called iterable. I will show you how that works. So let me grab one wireframe of the items. Quickly, give me a second. Something like this. And here we need to show that transformations. Each transformation has an ID, like a name and image, and this key KI. Okay, so how can I do that? I can click on this feature, and now instead of calling here source, we can call iterable. So click here iterable. We also have a more detailed tutorial on iterable that you can also watch. Let's go here to page, data, and we will click here on transformations. You can see that the transformations are returning to us an array. And now this iterable tool will go through that array and we can show each of them. And Now inside of this key, we want the unique name of this item. So I can call it a transformation. And now if I click, for example, on this element, go to the settings, I can go set variable, and you will see the new field here called transformation. And now inside of this transformation, I have, for example, name, and you will see the names are different now. I can attach an image as well. So let's go transformation, image. Let's make it bigger maybe. And that's how you can connect these transformations. And now I can go here and maybe type a title to be transformations. And our page is getting along. So let's remove all the unnecessary fields. So this is pretty good. So now what we can do is we can go to the home page, and what we need to do is to connect when I click on these items to lead to that single page. So what I'm going to do, I will create a button here, a link, which will say maybe read more. Let's limit this to be max 3 rows. So we can do that easily with a bit of custom CSS. So I'll open here. Let's paste this one. Let's save. I found that quickly on the Google. That doesn't matter. That's pretty good. So now when I click on this button, I want to lead the single page of this member. So let's click on that, go to the settings here. For the page, we are going to select a page character. And when I select the character, now this button expects us to give it an ID, because in our pages here, we have a dynamic ID, and now this button expects that dynamic ID. So how we are going to give it to him? We can go to advanced tab here, and already in route variables, you will see that it is asking you for dynamic ID. So let's quickly provide it the value ID, and that's it. Now if I go here, and if I click, for example, this one, it will open that guy. If I go back and click, for example, this one, it will open that one, but this one doesn't have transformations. What we can do for transformations, I'll show you now visibility condition field. We can create one paragraph here. Let me show you. And for this paragraph, we can type something like this character doesn't have any transformations. So we will be showing this only if we don't actually have any transformations. So how can we do that? We can use easily visibility condition. So for this paragraph, let's go to advanced visibility condition. Let's select page data transformations, and we will set empty. So if this is empty, we will show that paragraph. And for this grid, we can do the opposite. So let's go page data transformation not empty. So now if I go back here and I refresh, I will get this text. But if I open, for example, Goku, I will not get the text, I will get transformations instead. So that was pretty easy. Now what we are missing is maybe go back link here. So I can add it here. Instead of this span, I can just name it go back. And we are going to link it to homepage. So now I can quickly switch between multiple items. And that's it. This was just pretty basic tutorial on how you can use Divhunt REST API to create a listing page and single page of that listing. We'll be creating much more complex tutorials with Firebase, WordPress, Airtable, Strapi, where we'll be creating paginations, category pages, search page, and so on. So yeah,